Hi, everyone. One thing I wanted to mention just before I get right into it here. My name's Adriel Michaud. I'll be talking about integrating with Google on this presentation. One thing that I haven't covered super well in this presentation is GA4, and that's because we are continually adding integrations on with GA4. So if you're not familiar, Google Analytics Universal is the old analytics that you're probably familiar with. Whereas GA4 is their brand new one that they're getting going. Right now, we're recommending that all of our customers use both for the time being. But Google has made it clear that they're going to sunset Universal next year. So at the very least, you want to start logging data to your GA4 profiles, and you can run two of them. It's fairly easy if you're using Google Tag Manager, and if you're not, it's still just the same as doing it with Universal by putting those tracking codes in. So I just wanted to kind of get that out of the way before getting too far into this. Our recommendation right now, use both Universal and GA4, and we're working on integrating some of the APIs and that kind of thing for GA4 still weren't out of alpha, I guess you could say. So we're working on the ones whatever they gave us, we're working on kind of thing right now. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to cover why integration is important between Google's various products and ActiveDEMAND. We're going to cover the how-to on Google Ads, Google Search Console, and Google Analytics. We're going to cover how to handle conversions and what to do when you're migrating those between the different platforms. And then we're going to look at some advanced integration strategies because there are some pretty cool, well, cool if you're like an analytics nerd or a Google Ads nerd, but there's some cool stuff you can do with ActiveDEMAND and some of these platforms. So first, let's talk about a little bit about some jargon, just because if I had to use the whole words every time through as I go through this presentation, it's going to take twice as long. So for this presentation, AD is ActiveDEMAND, G is going to be Google Analytics, G Ads, if you see it, is going to be Google Ads, and GSC is going to be Google Search Console. So those are the terms we're going to use today. So why integrate all this stuff with Google Analytics and Google Ads and Search Console with ActiveDEMAND? Well, ActiveDEMAND can track a higher quality conversion, so it can filter a little bit better. It knows the person who did the conversion, and because of that, we've got better quality. We can filter better on ActiveDEMAND, and we can get those over to Google Analytics. One thing I really love, knowing the exact keyword that drove a lead in. Oh, that's so good, because look, with Google Ads, a lot of the times you're just worried, like, am I generating leads, and are these leads any good? And I think getting a name of a person in and the keyword that drove them is irrefutable, and I love that. Google Ads and Google Analytics are anonymous. They're not really meant to be used as de-anonymized platforms, so it can, again, be hard to spot check them. And QC and reporting is just easier if they're de-anonymized. If I can see that Rachel came into our website through a Google Ads campaign, that's just way easier QC for me. And then the other thing that we can get out of it is centralized reporting, because if we can get all this stuff into ActiveDEMAND, and ActiveDEMAND is kind of our one source of truth, it's nice if we can report on other things that are related to marketing and sales inside ActiveDEMAND. So practically speaking, what do we got to do this? We need our Google Ads keywords. So everyone that clicks on a Google Ads keyword that gets onto the website, we need that in ActiveDEMAND for each contact. We need ActiveDEMAND events and conversions in Google Analytics and Google Ads, because if you want to do CPA-based bidding in Google Ads, you need good quality conversions inside Google Ads, and ActiveDEMAND can deliver those. We need Google Analytics stats and widgets in ActiveDEMAND so we can centralize that reporting. We need GSC stats and widgets inside ActiveDEMAND. Again, centralized reporting, and that's it. So not really a ton of work here. If you're using ActiveDEMAND landing pages, we'll have to get those in as well. So first, let's talk about Google Analytics inside ActiveDEMAND. This kind of set the stage for a lot of the integration we have to do later. So some of the steps that you go through here will solve, for example, Google Search Console integration as well. The idea here is that we're going to build dashboards and schedule reports that use a combination of Google Analytics data and ActiveDEMAND data together. This is really using these two platforms for their strengths. Google Analytics is fantastic for traffic trends, page analysis, kind of grouping some of that stuff together. Really, website performance analysis, just website, right? Or apps if you've got an app as well. Whereas ActiveDEMAND has a different set of skills. It's better for filtered and categorized conversions because we do know the person. We have more information that's identifiable about them, and de-anonymized conversions, so we can pull that stuff out and really get that qualitative impact. And that's really where I like to use ActiveDEMAND. And now I'm showing you a dashboard, and I'm showing you a schedule report that we use inside ActiveDEMAND. The blue in these is Google Analytics. The orange is from ActiveDEMAND. So you can see here, I'm using a mix of qualitative and quantitative reporting to really see what's working, why it's working, and kind of get a flavor for it. So this is a very powerful way of reporting. And if you have, if you're an agency, you have big clients, or if you're in-house and you need big reporting needs, mixing quant and qual is a fantastic way of getting both the high-level view and the individual view of what each person is doing. And really, if you want to take it to a very simple place, lead stories are fantastic because these really prove that marketing is working. They're very easy to build, and they're easy to find in ActiveDEMAND as well. So an example of a lead story for us, this is just a contact inside ActiveDEMAND. This is a real one, by the way, from when I originally did this deck 2 years ago. And I can see, look at the introduction URL at the top there. You see all those like white label email marketing. Oh, they came from Google. They were searching for white label email marketing. Got it. Yeah, they came. They went to these pages on the website, and then they filled in a trial confirmation form. Fantastic. I know in a quick view here what advertising drove that person in, how they interacted with the marketing on the website, and what worked. This kind of lead story, super powerful. Now, if you need to, for some customers, or for some uses, you might want to just like pop this into text. Hey, I just wanted to share an example of how this user came to our website. They clicked on this ad, they've searched for this key phrase, they landed on this page, and this is how we got this lead in. That might be enough for some of your customers. If you want something a little bit prettier, you could do something like this. This is all the same information. Like I'm not pulling a whole bunch more info here. I'm just putting it into a nicely formatted page for a lead story. You could build this once and then reuse it with all your customers or all your reporting on a monthly basis if you really want to. Again, the idea here is to make it very easy to understand the marketing, and this takes something from Google and ActiveDEMAND and kind of weaves it all into one story about how that user came through. Let's talk about setup. So there's only a couple of things we're really going to need to do here. This is Google Analytics Universal, and you can see we pull that tracking ID from the admin area inside Google Analytics, and we put it into the Google Analytics account ID area inside the ActiveDEMAND integrations under administration account setup. So that'll be in there. While you're here, just do all this stuff. Just set up all the Google stuff. So you see AdWords customer ID under there. You might as well do that one at the same time. And really, if you just gather all this information beforehand, or if you need to do this on a consistent basis, I would just build a table, like an intake form for new customers, and just grab all this information off the hop before you get into setting it up. If you've got landing pages inside ActiveDEMAND, check the box that says include Google Analytics tracking script on landing pages, and that'll automatically add them there as well. Then you'll need to go down into third-party applications and add a user of Google and authenticate them. This will be someone that is an admin inside Google Analytics. By the way, if that's the same person that's inside Google Search Console, you're going to save yourself a step here as well. And then once you've done that, you can use the Google Analytics widgets inside ActiveDEMAND. So we have a bunch of pre-built ones, but if you want to get real fancy, we've got these custom widgets that you can access from the report widget area. And you can build the widgets to whatever you want to see. So if you want a table that uses a particular dimension and metric combination, you can do that all in here. And you can get very fancy with your reporting. Or just very simple, but only reporting on exactly what you want to report on. Next, let's look at Google Search Console in ActiveDEMAND. The idea here, or the advantages of doing this inside ActiveDEMAND, we can report on organic search traffic, keywords, top pages. I don't really log in as much to Google Search Console as I probably should. So I like to get this reporting inside ActiveDEMAND on a more consistent basis with all my other reporting. You could include it in dashboards, scheduled emails, and I think a very powerful thing, especially if you're doing a lot of SEO work, is to filter for branded or non-branded keywords and report on them separately. That's super important to me. Now, in terms of setup, you probably already did it. If you did the parts that I mentioned before, you probably already did it. So if you haven't set up a Search Console account, go set one of those up on Google. Make sure that the website URL inside ActiveDEMAND is the same as the one in Google Search Console. So that, and it's down to the with www or without HTTPS or without, like it has to be that specific, because inside Search Console, those can be, you could have like 4 different web properties that all have different permutations of that. So make sure that they're exactly the same. And then make sure you've authenticated a GSC user inside ActiveDEMAND. If you already did analytics, it's probably the same user. You're probably just using one user to hook them all up. So what does that look like? Well, inside your contact information inside ActiveDEMAND, you'll have to set up that website URL, and you'll have to make sure again that that Google user is authenticated. You probably already did it in the first in the previous step. And then once you've done that, you get access to all of these widgets inside ActiveDEMAND. Page search performance, search term performance. I don't know if you've noticed, but we've been adding in a lot more widgets inside our report widget area to make our reporting a lot more powerful. So there's a lot of options in there. One thing that I want to show you is just how to use regex. Regex is a pretty powerful and fast way of filtering. Not everyone knows how to use it. I just want to show you like a really simple use case that makes for really powerful filtering on branded versus non-branded. And that's the one I use is active, and then pipe. It's just under your backspace key on your keyboard. And that pipe is an OR. So this regex, active pipe demand, will cover active demand with a space in it, without a space, anything with active, anything with demand in it, which I put some silly examples in here. These never show up for our website, but this will cover lots of different misspellings and alternative ways that people use the brand, and is a very powerful way of setting that up. If you have a very simple brand, you may not need to do this. Just the contains might work. But I just thought I'd show you something cool about regex, and I love just using this simple stuff like this. So how would I use this? I would go in and set up my widgets, for example, for non-branded SEO traffic. This is people who aren't searching for ActiveDEMAND, they're searching for other stuff. I want to know that because I want to know what kind of SEO is working, right? And which pages are ranking and that kind of a thing. So I would take a look at the clicks, and I would filter for search terms excluding the regex of active pipe demand. And this will show me just the traffic I'm getting that's non-branded. Very cool. A very interesting way of using GSC and including widgets inside ActiveDEMAND. That's helpful for SEO. Next, let's talk about getting Google Ads keywords inside ActiveDEMAND. Now, if you need to get keywords inside Google Analytics, you click that auto tracking thing inside Google Ads, and you don't really need to do very much. But that's anonymous, and that only works with Google Analytics. If you need Google Analytics keywords or ad groups or placements or any of those other like interesting bits of information, you need to use value track parameters. This sounds hard. It's really not. It's the simplest thing ever. So again, GCLID, it's anonymous. It's just used for Google data. Value track parameters send info from Google Ads to other platforms like ActiveDEMAND. So things like campaign, ad group, keyword, all that kind of stuff. It works with Google's parallel tracking, and it's very powerful and easy to set up. How easy? On a per account basis. So for each Google Ads account, you go into the tracking template, you copy in this gobbledygook L-Perl match type thing, which we have this in the support article. You don't need to madly try to copy down the witchcraft that is in the in that query string there. You copy that in. There's the example as well. Well, this presentation will be available afterwards as well. And then inside ActiveDEMAND, you have to catch the stuff that you're sending. So before, this is us throwing the stuff over to wherever the click goes. Inside ActiveDEMAND, we now have to catch it. So on the right-hand side, you see value track parameter labels. We just have to make sure that those are matching. If you use the ones that we recommend and use these ones over here, it'll just work. And that's it. So now anytime someone clicks on a Google ad, all those extra parameters will be added and we'll be able to see them inside ActiveDEMAND. So some of the places we could see those are in places like this. So you could see them inside visit sources reports, inside conversion reports, and you'll also see it inside the introduction URL when they click through. So you'll see it on the contact there. I can see here, oh yeah, people are coming in on my my conquesting campaigns. I can see conversions that were coming in off of those. I can see the device, the keywords, the ad group. This particular report. What is this? I think this is a first conversions report that I just pulled these from. Super powerful, great to see. And you know, I knew that these ad groups were already working because I can see inside Google Analytics. But if I scrolled a little bit to the right here, I can see these people's names. I can see if they converted. I can see if they turned into a trial afterwards. So I get more information, and it also allows me to do that that lead story thing as well. And one other thing that I could do is I could personalize the landing page that people get to. So because I know the keyword that they came in off of, I could dynamically personalize that landing page based on what they searched for. So you can do some pretty fancy stuff here if you so choose. Next, let's look at conversions and events. One of the things I was mentioning earlier is just getting good conversion data and getting it over to your platforms, especially your ad platforms, is super important because it helps those ad platforms perform better. In terms of tracking conversions inside analytics and Google Ads, I'll show you a couple of options that I wouldn't recommend, but they're still available. So like some pretty like Cro-Magnon caveman or cavewoman stuff, just redirecting to a confirmation page and tracking that as a goal. I think we're fancier than that these days. We can do better than that, but that's an option as well. Just do a redirect and inside Google Analytics set that up as a conversion. Offline conversions also aren't that great, but again, they're an option that we have available. And then just custom conversion tags. They're just not necessary. Like writing a custom conversion code and then firing it when people convert. Personally, the things that I like to do, I like to send events to Google Analytics, configure them as goals, and then import those goals into Google Ads. The reason why I like this is because now my story between Google Analytics and Google Ads is the same. I don't have differing story. I don't have, oh, the conversions are just a little bit different between these two. Nah, it's all the same. So I like the consistency there. Now, in terms of this, you have a couple of different options. You can use pre-configured ActiveDEMAND events, or you can use custom events inside workflow, which is super fancy. I would say like the pre-configured way is fast, and very easy. The custom events is takes some configuration because you have to choose when you want to fire them. But my God, is it ever powerful. You can do some really insanely powerful things with those custom events. If you don't have Google Analytics, and some people just choose not to, then the other option we can use is post directly to Google Ads using a workflow action or the offline conversions. But I prefer to go through Google Analytics. So let's talk about that. Pre-configured AD events. This is, I think most customers would get most of what they need just from doing this. ActiveDEMAND decides the event structure and just pushes it straight to your Google Analytics account. Really, all you need to do is just check a box, and ActiveDEMAND will start sending those events over to Google Analytics. Things like phone calls, incoming phone calls, form fills, chats, appointments scheduled, any of like the default conversions inside ActiveDEMAND. It's going to fire them over to Google Analytics. Then you set up corresponding goals in Google Analytics, and then you import those conversions into Google Ads to make that final connection. So what does it look like? This is it just here. I think it takes longer for me to describe this than it does to actually do set this up. You check the box that says automatically post events to Google Analytics. And then inside Google Analytics, you set up your goal filtering so that you match what you need to, what you're throwing from ActiveDEMAND to Google Analytics, you need to catch. And this filtering on the right-hand side is catching it and setting it up as a goal. Next, let's look at custom Google Analytics events. This is the fancier way of doing it. The advantage of this, you can filter these to heck. You can filter them 6 waves from Sunday, which is a better way of getting higher quality conversions. Because we can fire events inside of workflow or autoresponder, we can put lots of decisions in the way of before we fire that event, and those decisions can help us qualify whether it's a real lead or not. This means we get squeaky clean data. The data that we fire over from Google Analytics using this style of reporting is very clean and very accurate. What does it look like? Just like this. So you can see here that we have like a decision on the left-hand side. Email address contains ActiveDEMAND. So if it's a test one, we send this, and this is a real branch in one of our workflows. So if we do a test form fill and the email address contains ActiveDEMAND, we don't post an event. That's a test form fill. And for test form fills, we just send it to our Slack. So that's how we notify ourselves. If you don't use Slack, you could send yourself an email, send yourself a text message, whatever you need to do for your troubleshooting. We like to use Slack. Now, if it isn't ActiveDEMAND, then we post the event, and it's right inside that workflow. So we can do these custom. We can set custom categories, actions, labels. We can use dynamic terms inside those labels, so that again we get the exact information inside Google Analytics that we need to. And this can get as simple or as complicated as you need. This is a real example of a workflow that one of our customers is using to post to Google Analytics. And you can see their workflow has a lot of sophistication in it, and it does a lot of really amazing things. And you can see there's some Google Analytics posts in there as well. So you can do as much as you want to. I would start with something really simple before, and then layer on the automation. Wherever you find little pieces where it can be improved, you can add on a branch and treat it as such inside that workflow. So you don't need to start there. In terms of where to learn more, we have articles on all this stuff. So our baseline one is integrating Google, but beyond that, we have integrating Google Ads conversions with ActiveDEMAND, posting pre-configured ActiveDEMAND events to Google Analytics, which will describe the exact event structure in there so you can build goals against them. Using Google Tag Manager is a fast and easy way of tracking call tracking and form fills in ActiveDEMAND. So this is describing the way to use virtual form fills. If you don't want to use ActiveDEMAND forms, you can just use the forms that were built into your website platform. They're not quite as powerful inside ActiveDEMAND if you do it that way, but if you're short for time, there is a way to do that. Using Google Search Console widgets in ActiveDEMAND that describes the setup and how to use it. And we also have an article on posting custom events to Google Analytics, which is that last thing that I showed to you. Beyond that, if you've got Google all hammered out and it's as set up as you need it to be, we also have a webinar that I did I think a year ago on Facebook integration. That does a very similar video to what we're talking about now, except for Facebook, and it's pretty complete. It has like all the stuff you can do with Facebook and ActiveDEMAND. And yeah, attribution setup if you want. The other place to go would be our LMS. So if you go to learn.activedemand.com, we have an LMS there to help learn the platform. If you get a new person on and you need to show them the ropes, this would be a great way for them to kind of learn everything about the platform. So that's it for the presentation.